Welcome back, film fans. This is Let's Be Real Brad. Today on the channel, I want to talk about the brand new neo-noir psychological thriller film called Nightmare Alley. The film is directed by Guillermo del Toro from a screenplay by del Toro and Kim Morgan. It is based on the 1946 novel of the same name written by William Lindsay Gresham. The film features a massive ensemble cast including the likes of Bradley Cooper, Cate Blanchett, Toni Collette, William Dafoe, Richard Jenkins, Rooney Mara, and Ron Perlman. This is the second feature film adaptation of the novel following the 1947 version. The film focuses on Stan Carlisle, played by Bradley Cooper, an ambitious carny who hooks up with a corrupt psychiatrist, Dr. Liveth Ritter, played by Cate Blanchett, who proves to be as dangerous as he is. This was my fifth most anticipated film of 2021, as I made a video earlier in the year talking about all my top 20 most anticipated movies of the entire year. And one of the biggest reasons why it was is because director Guillermo del Toro was supposed to be directing this film, as he won Best Picture and Best Director for 2017's The Shape of Water, which was the last movie that he made. I was so excited to see what he could come up with this movie, considering that this is his first film to not feature any aliens, monsters, or any other mythological creatures, because this is a neo-noir psychological thriller film that does feature many of the dark, creepy elements that you expect from a del Toro film, but this is very different than what he's used to making. And when you have a massive cast like this one, with all a bunch of A-listers and Academy Award nominees, I was so insanely excited to watch this movie, and even adding the title, Nightmare Alley. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. I had the pleasure of seeing this in a 2-day early access screening for this film, and I was so glad to do so because I could just write down all my thoughts, think about this movie for quite some time, because this movie was really damn great, and it just proves how much of an amazing director del Toro is. I found the directing style and vision in this movie to be so damn amazing, considering that del Toro is such an incredible director, and he's also able to get amazing performances out of every single one of the actors he has in his movie, and this is none the less, because I think he is able to craft a very dark and sinister, creepy movie that could have been just a very bland and very just mainstream movie for older audiences, but he decides to take a much darker route, as he normally does with his movies. I also love some of the very creepy and melodic shots that are going on here, especially one of the flashback scenes that involves a lot of flames that was very similar to Martin Scorsese's Shutter Island. I found everyone in this movie to be magnificent, as this is one of my favorite ensemble casts of the entire year so far. We have someone like Bradley Cooper, who has been amazing in these past few years, and he has dominated once again, as I think this might be my favorite performance of his. Cate Blanchett is also amazing in this movie, and I would love to see her get nominated as well. She is incredible in this movie, and I love every scene that she is in, especially the scenes with Bradley Cooper, and everybody else is simply incredible, and I thought they were all used in the best way possible, and it just feels like del Toro used them to their strengths and their advantages, and I thought it couldn't have been any better. Dan Lawton's cinematography is simply remarkable. I absolutely love the dark looking colors to this film, especially because this is supposed to be a neo-noir film that's set in the 1940s, so a lot of this movie is very dark and has a lot of shadows going on in the backgrounds. It just looked so beautiful and very appropriate for this type of movie, and it set the tone of this movie so damn well as a very serious, dramatic thriller, and I was just on the edge of my seat the entire time. I also found the screenplay from del Toro and Morgan to be really good in this movie, because I enjoyed that this movie is essentially a character study of this one man's life. We get to see where his character goes, and at times this movie does feel like the basic story we have seen before, but I think that the screenplay in this movie was so damn good at times that I was sucked into the dialogue and I wanted to see what was going to happen next, especially in the second half of the movie, where I think the screenplay really shines, as you are starting to see a lot of subtle foreshadowing that is going on that many audiences might not be able to catch up on until the final moments of the movie. And I absolutely love the final 10 minutes of the film. Nathan Johnson composed the score for this film, and it should be nominated at the Academy Awards for Best Original Score. It feels nostalgic enough for that 1940s neo-noir style, but it also feels very contemporary in how it's presented. It just feels so beautiful and elevates many of the scenes in this movie, especially some of the rising action that happens in the third act. The production design is simply remarkable, as it no doubtably should be nominated at the Academy Awards for Best Production Design this next year, because it is so damn amazing, and it just proves why we can get sucked into a story for 2.5 hours, because I found all the locations in this movie to be amazing, and they just look so authentic. The production design is simply amazing, as it normally is in pretty much every Del Toro movie. That's what he is known for having, and I think it is just amazing in this movie. Okay, it's amazing. I also found the costume design to be excellent as well, as I felt like there was a lot of research that went into this movie trying to discover all the 1940s costumes, especially because there's a carnival scene in this film, and you get to be able to research what people would have wore during that time, and I thought it was very authentic. Now, let's dive into my many negatives that I do have with this movie, starting with the runtime. I do think this movie is very long, considering that it clocks in around 2 hours and 30 minutes, and I'm a kind of guy that really enjoys long movies, but I think because the first half is so long and it takes so much time to get to Cate Blanchett's character, that I think it bogs the movie down so much, because we're trying to get all this character development from Bradley Cooper's character and the other characters we meet at the carnival. When we get to the second half, none of the characters we met at the carnival matter all that much for the rest of the story. So I don't really understand why we got so much development into this. I mean, it's still great and enjoyable to watch, but after you finish the movie, I just felt like the first half dragged. I think the pacing and flow of this movie would have benefited so much if this movie was cut down significantly. And my final negative I have with this movie is that I think there is way too much foreshadow for this film, and I picked up on all the foreshadows, so it made this movie very predictable for me. Sure, there are many moments in this movie that shocked me quite a bit, as there is one death scene that literally made me jump out of my seat, as I was so startled and shocked by what happened. It was scarier than many of the horror movies that have come out this year, and there are definitely many plot twists and turns that I didn't see coming, but I think for the most part, I was able to see where this movie was going, especially in the last 10 minutes of the movie, that I had already predicted in my head way long ago, because there's one scene in this movie that could have been easily cut out that basically foreshadows this event to happen, and I was quite annoyed, because I'm just a person that if you give me too much foreshadow, I'm going to figure out your movie. Overall, guys, Nightmare Alley is a really good movie that feels like a Guillermo del Toro movie in the best ways possible, with amazing performances, awesome cinematography, beautiful production design, and an amazing second half. Even though the first half does fall quite a bit, I do think that this movie is really enjoyable. So if you can go out of your way to support this film in the safest way possible, I think you're going to have a great time at the cinema. I'm going to be giving Nightmare Alley a strong 7 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for checking out my review, and I want to know down below in the comment section, what are your favorite Guillermo del Toro movies? I can't wait to hear about those. But before you check out this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, leave a like if you want to, and ring that notification bell so I could see you all in the following review.